Okay. Tamara, are you here already?
Hello.
Perfect.
I also just started the live stream on YouTube, so the connection might be a little bit bad, but I hope it's fine.
I think it should be fine. I can hear you all right.
Great.
So, yeah, maybe before we start, just a few words on how Jitsi works. So it would be amazing if all of you could put yourself on mute, unless when you want to ask a question, just to avoid having background noises. You can also message us on the chat that should open on a button, and we'll take up the questions. But also feel free to just jump in if there's something you don't understand. Yeah, go ahead. And yeah, I think with that, we're ready to start. So basically how we have built this up, we'll give you a short introduction and then present just a few slides on the most important topics regarding the rules of procedure. And at the end, there'll be plenty of time for you to ask any and all questions that you still have. So yeah, maybe just a few words about myself. I'm Nico. I will be one of your chairs in the EP. I currently work for a management consulting company, but I've been involved with MEUs for quite a few years now. I was an MEP just like you in 2015, and then caught the MEUS virus and have served in different positions over the years. And this year I'll be one of your chairs, and I'm excited to spend the whole this week in Strasbourg with you, which I'm sure will be a great learning experience for all of you. Yeah. So Tamara.
My microphone. I'm Tamara. I'm 24. I live in the Netherlands in Tilburg, if anyone knows. Oh, do you hear me now, Susanna? Can you hear me, people? Ah, okay, great. If it works for this, then it's fine.
I can hear you as well.
Okay, so I start over. I'm Tamara. I'm 24. I'm originally from Germany, and I live in the Netherlands right now. I study sociology at the University of Tilburg, but I work in the Department for Business and Economics in the University of Maastricht. And I'm involved with MEU since 2014, when I joined the organizing team at MEU Mainz. And since then, I've been around different MEUs. And this year, I will be chairing in the parliament together with Nico. And now I will switch over to the presentation. And it's that one. So, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Great.
No.
I think it's important that all of you go on mute, because then when Tamara speaks, the presentation will pop up immediately on your screen. Like for now, for example, I only see it on the side where she is.
I will quickly. We'll check if everyone's on mute. Yeah, looks like it. So slide by slide and quickly explain everything what's on. So the first thing I wanted to mention is that there's a certain decorum during MEU Strasbourg that we should at every time obey to. And the thing is that we always speak in a respectful manner and respect the opinion of other people, because at the end, you just represent an opinion that was appointed to you, and you play that role. So respect the other people, just try to play the role as good as possible. And there are certain rules when you begin to speak. So when we allow you to speak, you should thank us that we give you that possibility. And you address your colleagues, not using the last name and Madam or Mr. And address them as your colleague or fellow MEP. And there's also some guidelines, conference guide that you will receive once you're in Strasbourg. And there's also a dress code. I'm sure you're aware of that. So there will be no sneakers, no jeans, no t-shirts allowed. You should be wearing a collared shirt and dress shoes and a nice type of pants. Yeah, but the good and rules in the dress code as well, but they're a little bit more complicated and difficult to summarize quickly. And the most important thing in the European Parliament, there are always people that work there and that will come by and observe us during parts of the sessions. And of course, the European Parliament is quite a special. So it would be nice if you would always behave in a way that important people can watch you. And not only it would be nice, but you should. Now coming to the little bit parts, I'm sure you already heard about the ordinary legislative procedure, and that's roughly the outline of the content work that we will do. I put it in two different tables, and it's roughly representing the schedule that we're going to follow. So in this first slide here, first column, you see all the points that refer to the directive. In the second, the steps in the procedure that refer to the regulation. And in the third column, you see all the steps that refer to the European elections topic. And we in the European Parliament, we start with the directive and we get a short outline by the Commissioner, followed by questions and answers. And then we start, and in between that, there will be a group meeting where you get together with your group and select a team leader and the secretary that will represent your group in the introduction statements. And done with debating the directive and drafting and voting on amendments, we will have representatives going to the council and introduce that. And then we switch here to the third column, because that's the point in time when we start discussions topic. And we get the outline by the Commission, and afterwards the debate and vote on amendments. And as you already heard, that's pretty little time for that. So you should prepare the amendments beforehand, and your political advisor will help you that. And this is roughly what happens on Monday and Tuesday. And we go on with the Wednesday afternoon, Thursday and Friday. And we're still... Is somebody talking? Okay, I cannot mute them. We are still in the third column here. The Commission... No, we're now in the second column. Yeah, we're discussing the regulation now. The Commission will outline the regulation to us. Then the same will happen as already with the directive. We debate on it. We draft and vote on amendments. And then we will give it back to the council. They will give back the work on the directive. And there will be final short debates on that, because in that step we don't have any amendments anymore. And then there will be final votes on the directive and the regulation. And in the third column, there's the special thing. The council will vote on the European elections topic on Wednesday afternoon. And if they approve it, we will vote on it on Friday. So if the council approves the topic, we will approve the approval. And that was it. That is roughly the schedule and the procedures that we're going to follow. And in a nutshell, we have three readings on each proposal. First, the first institution debates and votes, then the second institution debates on the amended version and changes it according to what they want. And in the end, both institutions vote on the proposal as a second reading. And in the OLP, so in the procedure that regards the directive, and both the Council and the European Parliament vote on both proposals. And in the consent procedure, the European Parliament votes only if the Council approves the proposal. And if the Council rejects it, we don't have to vote. And what's most important here is that in the third reading can be implemented anymore. And that's especially important because quite often you realize in the third reading that there's something that really bothers you and your political group about the proposal, but you forgot to check for it before. So that's why I underline it, especially so you are aware that in the third reading, you vote on what you got and you cannot amend it any further. And now I give the word to Nico again.
Yeah, I think maybe if you have any questions you want to ask Tamara on the first part of the topic right now. Okay, so Nanya, you'll have plenty of time to ask questions more at the end. So I'm going to outline briefly the different types of debate you have and the rules of procedure to give you an idea of how it works, when you should use what, and what are the different types of debate. So to start with, in the European Parliament, we have three main types of debate: the general speakers list, the catch the eye debate, and the informal discussion. The general speakers list is basically the default mode of debate. That's what we will start with when we enter, and that's also to which we will always come back once we get out of the other debates. So how it works is that members speak in speeches one after the other. You have to raise your placard if you would like to be set on the speakers list. We'll be asked, does anyone want to be on a speakers list? And then we write down your names. For us, it's quite important that we give everyone the possibility to speak, because this is one of the key learnings of MEU, and especially it's important that we have people from all different political functions. So don't hesitate, put yourself up, go out there. It's a good way to try yourself out. We can only encourage everyone to put themselves on the speakers list. So then the order of the speakers is determined by the list. The standard speaking time is 1 minute, but that can also be changed through a motion. I'll come to that later. And at the end of each speech, the person who held the speech can say that they're open for points of information, which means that other MEPs are invited to ask them a short question, usually maximum 30 seconds, that they can then answer if something was unclear or so about the speech. Also very important, for most of the time, we will have simultaneous interpreting. So you can speak in, I think it's 8 or 10 different languages, but the interpreters will tell you more about the details when we come to the conference. Then, but of course, because the general speakers list is quite rigid with one person after the other, we have two other forms of debate that are a bit more dynamic if the discussion needs to advance. So the second one is the catch the eye debate. That's a debate that needs to be proposed through a motion, and it's always on a specific topic for a specific time frame. So for example, if you have, so for example, if the debate in general would be the debate on Brexit, you could say, for example, let's have a catch the eye debate on the Northern Irish border. So it's always a topic that's that's a smaller part of the directive or regulation we're currently discussing. And it will also be for a specific time frame. Usually something between 10 or 15 minutes is a recommendation, but it depends on what we're talking. And there it's also a place members will also speak in speeches one after the other. However, there won't be a list, but at the end of each speaker, you will be invited to raise your placards, and we will choose one after the other. Also, again, trying to get the largest spectrum of political views there. And also, there's no option to ask points of information. And then the third option is the informal discussion, which again needs to be proposed through a motion. it has a maximum duration of 20 minutes, and that is basically we end the general discussion and everyone is free to do whatever they want. Of course, you're not allowed to leave the chamber, but you can move around the tables and negotiate informally, write amendments. That's kind of the time where you do the most important work, I would say, in the sense of working together, because during the general speakers list and the catch the eye debate, you're supposed to listen to what whoever is speaking is saying. So if you can go to the next slide, Tamara.
It's not reacting right now.
Perfect. So these are all the points and motions that you have in order of importance. So that means there are different, when there are several points or motions done at the same time, we will discuss them in the order that you have here. Don't worry, you'll have this printed out for you as well, but just that so I would recommend that every one of you familiarize yourselves with what each of these points and motion does, because of course some of them are a little bit similar or you can get confused. And I mean, we're there to help you, but ideally everyone knows before we get started what each point and motion means. It will just make it a lot easier for everyone involved. So the first thing is the point of personal privilege. That's kind of the trump card. It's the only one you can bring at any time and with which you're even allowed to interrupt the speaker. That's something you put whenever you're not able to follow what's happening. I don't know, maybe because the speaker didn't turn his or her microphone on and they're not loud enough, or because there's some issues with interpretation or so. That's when you would stand up, say, point of personal privilege. I can't hear what Mr. or Mrs. XY are saying. The second point, so this is the only one point for which you are allowed to interrupt a speaker. The second one is the point of order. That's a point that you can raise when you have the impression that something's not going along the rules of procedure, that someone is making a mistake. So that's, for example, if we jump over someone during the speaker's lift, if we miss you out because we don't see it correctly, then you can say, hey, point of order, I was on the speaker's list and now you jumped over me. Or if someone didn't vote on in a substantive vote where no abstentions are allowed and we don't catch that, so that's when you would raise a point of order. What's very important is that the point of order is only to things that pertain to the rules of procedure, so if someone doesn't follow the rule. And the third thing is the right of reply. That's when you feel insulted or your national honor disturbed by something someone else is saying. So if someone says to you, MEP XY is an idiot, you can raise a right of reply and we will ask the person who has insulted you to apologize to you. Then the next one is the point of procedural inquiry. That's what you raise if, I don't know, you want to do something and you don't know which motion to use, or you're not exactly clear what's happening, if we're already in the debate of amendments or if we're still discussing amendments, if so, whenever you have a question. And the point of information I already mentioned before. It's you can put that, you can ask a speaker a question if he allows that after he's held a speech in the general speakers list. And the verification of quorum is something, is if you want us to check that sufficient MEPs are present to hold a vote. Then motion to limit, expand, or extend speaking time, I think, is self-explanatory. And so our motion for an informal discussion or motion for a catch the eye debate. There it's very important whenever you present such a motion for informal discussion and catch the eye debate, you have to say for how long you want it to be. You can't just say motion for an informal discussion, but it should be motion for an informal discussion for 10 minutes maybe. And in addition, for the catch the eye debate, you need a topic. And also, if several MEPs are presenting a motion for an informal discussion or catch the eye debate, we will first vote on the most disruptive one. So for example, if someone has a motion for 20 minutes and another one a motion for 10 minutes, we will first vote on the motion for 20 minutes. If it gets passed, we go into informal discussion. And if it fails, then we will vote on the motion for an informal discussion of 10 minutes. And then the motion to close the debate is at the very end when we move into the when we close the debate, that is the end of the discussion, and then we move into the discussion on amendments. That's basically the most important points of motions. I mean, I think after a few hours in the parliament, you'll get the hang of it, but I would still recommend to go through them once or twice before you get started.
We see that Ries has just asked a question. I'm going to read it out. Which point can interrupt the speaker? And I answered it's a point of personal privilege, and all the others need to be raised after. I just see that Nico disconnected. So I guess he will be back in a second. And if not, you can use raising hand function that is on Jitsi in the lower left corner if you want to ask a question. And if not, I give back the word to Nico, who hopefully has joined us back.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry for this interruption. So yeah, I mean, I was basically at the end of what I wanted to say about the points and motions, just saying that please don't use them to disrupt the debate or anything like that. I mean, I've had it at several conferences where people will bring in the same motion to extend or limit the speaking time that has failed 3 times again and again. And in such cases, Tamara and I will just say, sorry, we're not accepting any more motions on that topic or so. So use them with a certain decency whenever it's relevant. Yeah, I think with that, that's the main points I wanted to cover in my part. So with that, we would like to open the floor to you. If you have any questions or anything that's on your mind, feel free to either type it into the chat or just unmute yourself and pose your questions. That's what we're here for.
There's no questions right now. We can also give you a little bit of our personal advice for the conference. And yeah, if you're interested in that, if not, you have to stop listening now. My first personal advice would have a lot to read, and there's a lot to maybe look into the rules of procedure once or twice, because we don't have that much time in Strasbourg itself to answer your questions. And there's a lot of other things going on. So if you're unsecure about something, either of course send us a message before, or you read through the rules of procedure and ask us afterwards if it's still unclear. Also use your political advisors, and they can help you quite a lot. Maybe Nico has another tip or advice.
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice would be just go out there and try it out and do something. I think for me personally, I will consider this simulation a success if I will consider this simulation a success if I have the impression that all of you have learned something and taken something out of it. And in order for that to work, you really have to go in there and be active. Don't be afraid to put yourself on a speakers list. It's a safe environment. No one will judge you for what you say or what you do, and it's your one chance to speak in front of a big crowd and train your public speaking skills. It's your chance to have your negotiation skills. And also, whenever you have any questions or something you don't know, feel free to approach Tamara and me anytime. We've all been in your shoes. We know that it can be stressful at times. It can be difficult to have the courage to go up there and stand in front of everyone. But we just want to say, we encourage you all. I would say that's the most important piece of advice for me. I also see that the question came in from Remy. If what you can say if you disagree with a speaker. I mean, what you should do if you disagree with the speaker is put yourself on on the speakers list and um, just hold a speech that goes against it. I mean, if a speaker is speaking, that's his time. He's free. He's free to use it whatever you want. And if you disagree, you put yourself on a speakers list, and then that's the same thing. Unless it is, as we mentioned previously, something where the speaker insults you, makes you feel uncomfortable, then you have the right to use the right of reply. But I mean, usually that doesn't happen that often because most people are well mannered. So, yeah. Yes. The blue card, a question that just came in from Reese. That's also a good one. The blue card is basically the point of information. So we will, if once a speaker ends, and we encourage everyone at the end of your speech to just say briefly if you're open for points of information or not. Otherwise, we will ask you, but it's just easier if you just say it. And then we will ask who has a point of information, and you will have a blue card that you can raise up, and by that you will show that you have a point of information, and then you will be granted 30 seconds to ask your question to the speaker, after which the speaker will decide whether he wants to answer or not your question. But there it's important, it has to be a question to the speaker. You can't stand up and say, hey, I disagree with you. So it has to be in a form of a question. Yep.
One of my biggest pet peeves, actually, like, a question is a question if you ask for additional information. A question is not a question if you state your opinion and say afterwards, don't you agree? Or put a question mark behind an opinion. That's not a question. I'm a bit strict on that, and I will take good care of these things. And also, regarding the comment of Hannah, don't ever throw a shoe in the parliament.
Yes. Any more questions from anyone? So I guess with that, I will say that's it. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any more questions that come up until Strasbourg or during the week, remember Tamara and I are there to help you. That's our most important role. We are there to facilitate your discussions and make sure you take the most out of the simulation and are able to do best. So we wish you a pleasant Sunday evening and are looking forward to see all of you in Strasbourg on Saturday.
Have a good week, and don't be too nervous. It will be all working out fine. And yeah, I'm excited to meet you next week. Bye-bye.